In South Africa, marrying outside your race was illegal under the apartheid regime. My own history is tangled up in it. Before I was born, my parents fled to Australia in the hope of a better life. And although I've never lived here, I feel as though it's part of who I am, my identity and my story. My first visit here was when I was about 7, and one of my biggest memories was wanting to go to the beach with my cousins, and we drove around on a stinking hot day and we couldn't go to these beaches. They were whites only. And that was a really deeply hurtful thing that I experienced back then. It was a small insight into the lengths the state went to keep people apart. So I've come back to South Africa to find out if love can finally overcome apartheid's legacy. Today, South Africa calls itself the Rainbow Nation, a term used by the country's first black president, Nelson Mandela, who led the country out of the darkness of apartheid.
I cherish the ideal of a new South Africa, where all South Africans are equal.
Wow, look at you.
While the country has changed, racial divisions are unfortunately still here. And while it's not illegal to marry outside your race anymore,
Thank you.
mixed race couples still face difficulties.
Are you excited to go to the park? You're gonna be a good girl today.
No.
I'm sorry.
Pam and Seb are happily married with 2 young children, Jordan and little Luca.
You want in your hair as well?
They represent the vision Nelson Mandela was fighting for. But as a mixed race couple, their union is rare.
High five. Ow.
I want to know about when you first met. Was it love at first sight?
No. Yeah, we
It's
were
weird.
always in the same circles,
Yeah.
but never like best friends. And then he made some silly joke, and then from there we like spoke every day.
And then 3 months later, I asked her out officially. 6 months later, I asked her to marry me.
Really?
6
Yeah.
months.
6 months later, we got married. 6 months later, we fell pregnant.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Pam is black South African. Sebastian is Indian South African. Both of their families were discriminated against during the apartheid years, where people were separated into racial groups. It imposed on them the idea that some races were better than others. How did your family react when you got together?
That was a mess. My family is not welcoming to Pam, also because of the fact that, not also, but because of the fact that she was black. Obviously didn't tell them that I was dating an African woman. I told them that I was dating Pam. And being an Indian family, people expect me to waltz in a Pam that is Indian. And then the first day that I arrived and I showed Pam, my mom kept quiet. She's like, she's black. So that caused a bit of a rift because my mom was not accepting of African women.
How does that feel, Pam, to listen to this, your initial reception from his family?
I mean, I wasn't surprised that there would have been like, oh, she's not Indian. I tried my best to not let it affect me, because if I did, then it would just drive me insane. And also, I was confident in my relationship with him because he never made me feel like it is just me against his entire family. The fact that he put his foot down and defended me despite what they said and still chose me made me feel like I had the biggest wings. Like nobody could tell me anything because I know my husband loves me despite what you may think I am. You may think I've got dirty blood, but as long as my husband cherishes me, those words didn't affect me the way it could have.
Let's go. Hold mommy's hand.
Seb's mum struggled to accept her son's love for Pam.
Ready?
He's the only one in their family to date outside his race.
Give Granny a hug, Jordan.
Again. Okay, my baby.
So, can you remember when Sebastian and Pam got together?
It's about 3.5, 4 years?
5.
5 years now.
Why were you against me being in a relationship or
Due to family, I told you.
So you were more worried about what the
More
family would
worried
say.
about family. You know, the thing is with the Indians, I'll be honest, they pick on the nations like, oh, you're African, you're white, and, you know, it goes on like that. And I got a family who always, up till now, my uncle even picks on him being married to an African girl.
What sort of things would he say?
Dirty words like, oh, she's an African, how can you get married to an African? And, you know, let me put it this way. They say that the Africans are one leg in the bush and one leg on earth. They insult like that.
What does it feel like when that happens?
Obviously, you don't want anybody to say bad things about you, but the things that they would say are things that I can't change. What they would say, oh, I'm an African girl. Well, yes, I live in Africa and there's nothing I can do about that. I can't change it. So I just carried on.
If I had to tell you today, it's me or them, what would you do?
I choose my son. Because my son is more important.
Wholeheartedly, or are you saying that just because I'm
I
here?
choose my son. Because I wouldn't want to lose my child because of my family. No ways.
I think I've made this very clear to my wife and to my mother. I enjoy my marriage. I enjoy my journey and where I'm going. One thing I told my mother as well, I will never choose her over my wife.
You did say that you wanted to have an honest conversation with her. Do you think that's happened this morning?
Yeah. I think, to some degree, I think it has been very, very honest.
To some level, I feel I know how my son really feels now.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
For nearly 50 years, South Africa's apartheid system placed people in a hierarchy based on their skin colour. Whites were at the top, Indians and so-called coloureds were in the middle, and black South Africans at the bottom. Basic human rights were denied to those who weren't white, and sex and marriage across racial lines was illegal. The end of apartheid in the early 90s brought with it a more hopeful and progressive South Africa.
The march towards freedom and justice is irreversible.
But I get constantly reminded that although mixed-race dating is now legal in 2022, the architecture of apartheid is yet to completely crumble.
So we do get a lot of stares. For me, like I'll get like stares like in my eyes, and then they look at him and then they look at me, and like it's a like, what am I seeing? Especially if there are displays of like affection, like how he's holding my hand. People find that when you date a white person, that, oh wow,
You've reached the clouds.
yeah, it's like, oh wow, it's like an achievement, well done. But if that same white person was dating a black person, then they'll be like, oh, okay,
that's
I didn't
new.
expect you to date a black girl or a black boy. So yeah, unfortunately, the black people are always seen as inferior.
It's pretty much like the caste system that we have in Indian communities. Even though people will not say it, as freely democratic country as we are, people still put people in hierarchies.
For people that were in apartheid, like it would be very hard mentally to just click out of that mindset because it's mind control. Oh, black people are inferior, white people are superior.
Careful, gentle, gentle. Ingrid, are you hungry?
You want more?
That noxious idea that some races were better than others still lingers in the country.
I love you.
Pam says her family, unlike her husband's, never had reservations about the relationship. But I'm keen to see if this was true. Monica, cast your mind back. What was your gut reaction when you found out that Sebastian was Indian? How did you really feel?
I didn't like Indians before. So I felt, wow, why an Indian? Why? Just why an Indian? I said, why now? What do you mean Indian? At first I thought maybe she was mistaken. He must be colored in. She didn't see his race properly. Why an Indian of all people? You know, because I didn't like Indians growing up.
Tell me why.
They always think they are wiser than everyone else. That's how they are. That's how I experienced, Indians to be at the workplace.
How did you feel about that? Your mum was openly saying that she had a bit of an issue with you going out with an Indian.
I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that she had an issue with Indians, like from the workplace. I never thought that she actually had a problem with Indian people, to be specific.
That's very true. But then shame, when he came home, wow, he was totally different. He was such a good boy, as he still is now. He was a total different Indian that I had never seen.
What made him different?
I suppose his character, his personality. He's just awesome. Otherwise, I would be.
So Monica, has meeting Sebastian changed your mind about Indians in general?
Yes, it has. A lot. And I'm thankful to God for that because we are surrounded. We live with Indians, we work with Indians. So there is no way you won't bump into an Indian.
Last year, relations between the Indian and black African communities turned deadly when a wave of violence pitted neighbour against neighbour in riots that were the worst the country has seen since the end of apartheid. It was sparked by the imprisonment of former President Jacob Zuma for contempt of court. Then quickly morphed into lawlessness, looting and rioting by the marginalised and disenfranchised. Over 300 people died.
Don't waste your ammo.
Here in Phoenix, the turmoil sparked racial profiling and vigilantism. The police minister said of the dozens killed here, most were black, and most of the suspected killers were Indian. Glenn Idu is the founder of a private security company in Phoenix.
I told these guys something and they didn't listen to me. Jeez.
You want it all in a line there?
Yeah, make fast.
Unhappy that his staff aren't listening and lining up the SWAT vehicles in a straight line, so he's just getting them in order. Where do you get your hands on a tank like that?
These are ex-police vehicles, riot unit vehicles. Yeah, so we bought them and we keep them for our high-risk operations.
When the looting and riots escalated, Glenn says the police were stretched and his own security company overwhelmed. So he took to social media to publicly call on Phoenix residents to set up roadblocks.
We need to now form what is called a civil defence force.
This is him, under the balaclava.
Residents are being robbed, assaulted, etc. You must do whatever you think is right. You must do everything in your power now to assist and help the community. If you don't help yourselves, if you die, then that is your problem.
Because we're predominantly Indian, people think that they can just step over us. They did this in the 1949 riots, then in the 1985 riots, we were victims again. So it was about survival. Had we not barricaded Phoenix, thousands of people would have died in Phoenix. Just not the 35 that they talk about. I am telling you, there would have been thousands of them would have died. So I think I prevented a massacre on a larger scale, and not only a massacre, I think I just stopped a war.
But not everyone sees it that way. South African authorities say that these roadblocks enabled vigilantes to target black residents.
This street here, you know, those barricades, this is where people were arrested because they found dead bodies down the drain there.
Goodness.
At the bottom. 3 or 4 bodies hacked or shot.
You've just said we've driven past an area where there were bodies that were shot and hacked. And this, look at this place, it's a suburban area. How does it make you feel?
Well, you know, this place is so, it just proves to you that you're not safe anywhere. We are sitting with a ticking time bomb. We've been living peacefully all along, and then suddenly, within a few days, you've got more than 30 people dead.
At a public inquiry into the killings, Glenn said he only called on Phoenix residents to barricade the suburb, not kill people. Some people say that you were part of this, that you were armed and that you've got blood on your hands.
Yeah, I was armed. Yes, I carried a firearm. Yes, we carried several firearms. That is correct. About me having blood on my hands, no. The police had arrested me. They confiscated all our guns that we had, and everything's come back from ballistics to say that we've never been involved in any killing, shooting, or injuring of anybody.
But in the unfolding of all of that, dozens of people died. Was the outcome acceptable?
No, I think the outcome is never acceptable in my opinion. The people are not really proud that they had to protect themselves. That was the job of the police and the military. The people were forced into protecting themselves. There have been a lot of, I can't call it mistakes, a lot of incidents that have taken place where people have been killed. It's blood on our hands, but those people must be brought to justice. If they're not, then this wound is going to stay open for a long, long time.
That wound is still very much open for Thokozani Mlongo, who lives just a few blocks away. When I visit, I lose count of the amount of relatives in her home. The youngest, her grandson, who's just a few months old. Her son, 18-year-old Sanele, was killed in the riots.
Sanele was a very young, responsible man. Like, we used to call him a breadwinner in the house. Let's say he comes back from school and I'm not at home, and he sees there's no bread in a bread tin. He'll take his own money, go buy bread. Sanele was that kind of a child.
What do you know about Sanele's death?
Actually, I don't have much, because what I know is what people are telling me, because I wasn't there. That Sanele just went to the petrol station with his friend. Then they were stopped by the gang of Indians who started firing to the car. Then when the car stopped, then they all jumped off to run away. But Sanele didn't make it. He was shot dead in the same place in the scene. That's all I know. And it took me 4 days to find him, because his friend couldn't come and tell me that Sanele, they left him lying on the floor, they're dead. They were scared to tell me. So that's the only thing I have. Nothing more.
Thokozani doesn't know where her son was going, just that he was out when the city was convulsing with violence. So you were told an Indian person had shot Sanele. How do you feel about the Indian community now?
You know, I feel so bad. Even seeing an Indian person, for me, the tears will just fall in my face, because I just couldn't stand the sight of them. But at least now I'm healing slowly then.
Do you blame someone for his death?
No.
Why do you think you don't have any bitterness in your heart to blame someone? Your son was shot dead.
Because I have no one to blame except racism. because it's clear for everyone that whatever happened in July 12, it was racism. Sanelem was born here in Phoenix. He grew up in Phoenix. He had Indian friends. So his whole life was in Phoenix. But that day he died because of his skin color.
South Africa, the so-called Rainbow Nation, has a dark history. Under apartheid, people were systemically separated by the colour of their skin. Today, apartheid is over. But for mixed-race couples, even love is haunted by the ghosts of the past. Fighting this history is a couple who use their love and faith to bridge racial divides.
So tell me how you met, and was it love at first sight?
Yeah. For her it was, I think.
Sarah, what did your parents say when you told them you were going out with Ndaba?
They were over the moon. They didn't have any doubts. I think some of that is probably in the fact that they know how they raised me, and they have trust in my choices. But they were really happy.
Ndaba, how did your family react when you told them you were going out with Sarah?
I'm very excited. Very excited.
After everything I've seen and heard on this trip, this is refreshing to hear.
Yeah, those are ready. Okay.
Sarah and Ndaba are youth leaders at their church. Every month, they organise a group dinner at their house. Tonight, I'm joining them for a braai, the South African version of an Aussie barbecue.
We ask, Lord, that you please bless this food and may bring health and nourishment to our bodies, and please bless the hands that have prepared it. In the name of Jesus we pray. Everybody say, Amen. Let's go.
The aim of these meals is to bring people together from different backgrounds who might not normally hang out.
This is a very diverse bunch of people, which is beautiful. Do you think you all would have got together if it wasn't for these two?
For me, I'd say no. Ndaba and Sarah, they invited me over, and then that's how I started coming.
From my side, I think it's just a matter of intention as well. For like Sarah and Ndaba in specific, they've been extremely intentional about saying, hey guys, come, we want you all there.
I'm guessing by the look of you, you're all, lovely and young, and I'm guessing that no one's had a lived experience under the apartheid system, right? So what's the legacy of that? Can you still feel some of those racial divisions in South Africa today?
I mean, I would say definitely, like 100%, I think.
It's still there.
Sure.
Unfortunately, the racism has now a new cousin called classism as well.
Yeah.
Some people say that the whole apartheid system really never actually went away. It just flipped and became something else. It used to be about color, now it's about color and class as well.
The World Bank says South Africa is the most unequal country in the world, a statistic driven by racial inequality. But gatherings like this one seem to be breaking down barriers. And when it comes to dating, they're trying to right the wrongs of the past.
We're teaching the older generation that it's okay to have a different race as your spouse, as your future, because that just shows where, I guess, the country as a whole is heading. And that's what Nelson Mandela wanted.
That was really beautiful. And I think a key takeaway is the braai brings everyone together. South Africa.
When I first saw you, I said, oh my, that's a dream.
I'm almost swept away by the infectious optimism of this group. Despite the divide in society that I've seen on this trip, these young people make the reality of the Rainbow Nation seem achievable.
Wow, well done! I am now born in a time where I can have a relationship with whomever I choose, him being who I choose.
I am confident in our people, in our country, in our culture, in our diversity.
And who could believe they could ever come true?
Step by step, some South Africans continue to blaze a trail down Nelson Mandela's long road to freedom, something my family could only dream of while living here.
That's my dream.